Hi, this is Will Phillips, founder of Rex Roundtables, mostly talking to our roundtable chairs right now. Excuse me if you notice a little bit of a black eye. I was working on my boat and I moved in the wrong direction. Anyway, I wanted to talk about a number of things, but right at the core I want to talk about the deepest quality that distinguishes Rex industry peer groups from all other peer groups, whether they're in the same industry or not. One of the astounding things that Rex has built a reputation on is the extraordinary loyalty of its members. My basic expectation is that when a member joins, they'll stay for life, meaning the life of their business. When someone leaves before that, I always consider that somehow we have not engaged that person. Often, we hear two comments from members who leave a roundtable. They say, I don't have time, or I don't have money. The third comment is even more significant. I'm not getting any value out of being in this roundtable. All three of those comments reflect on how we chair and run the roundtables. Now, it's critical to have enough members in your roundtable so that even if you do lose two members at one time, and that does happen, someone retires, someone gets into serious financial problems, and all of a sudden they've left the roundtable. Now, if you've only got 8 or 9 or 10 people in the roundtable, that's somewhere between 20 and 25% of your members are gone. That is a body blow to the roundtable. I'm not 100% sure of this, but in my dabbling and reading about military history, in a serious, devastating loss in battle, it seems like 10 or 20% of the soldiers die. It's not 100%. It's 10 or 20% die or are casualties, and that is seen as a devastating battle. So I would kind of apply that same rule to a roundtable. You lose 10, 15, 20% of your members, it is devastating impact. Everyone else wonders whether they should stay, wonders what went wrong. It's an injury it takes a while to recover from. Now, I have had roundtables where that's happened. One has for a variety of reasons, dropped from 14, 15 members down to 6, almost in a year. And then it rebuilt itself, and it's one of our stronger roundtables now. So that's why it's important to have, I believe, 15, 16 members in a roundtable. If you lose 1 or 2, it's bad, but it's not a body blow. Now, I want to talk about my view of losing a member. In particular, the 3 reasons I cited: no time, no money, no value. I believe all of those are third agenda issues. I'm not going to review the 3 agendas here, so look on the website and review that article if you need. These are internal personal issues of the CEO. That's why they're occurring. That's my assumption. And the important thing to know about third agenda items that are serious is that the CEO, the owner of the business, rarely sees them. Or if they see them, it's an extremely tenuous, vaporous view, and they don't take it very seriously. It's not a hard, solid, clear issue for them. It's something on the side. Now, it could be that someone doesn't have time, money, or value. But I would like to see the proof of that before I accepted it. And in my experience, in 45 years of consulting, I have never found a case where it's time, money, or value. The issue is a third agenda issue, something inside the individual that is preventing them from getting value, preventing them from solving the time issue or the money issue. Rex has put together a number of startup pieces to kickstart your membership in a roundtable. and they've got 5 or 6 items on that, which should allow a new roundtable member to pay for the first couple of years of his roundtable if he enacted those. One is learning how to reduce costs without reducing value. Rex has a whole workbook on that. Another one is the ABC assessment of your managers and getting the right people in place, and so forth. So what I mean by a third agenda issue is this. The owner is totally overwhelmed with operational work. They have no time to sit back and reflect, no time to develop their business, no time to attend a roundtable. They know that they're doing things they shouldn't be doing. They know that they're doing things that are way above their highest and best use. And they haven't figured out how to delegate those. So just looking at the single issue of delegation, meaning I won't let go because I don't trust people. I won't let go because I'm afraid something will go wrong. I won't hire somebody who has the capacity to be delegated to because my wife doesn't want me to spend the money because she doesn't see the benefit. And I'm tired of arguing with her. You can see how all of these are issues where, in a sense, there's a fairly obvious answer. I mean, learning to delegate is a way of gaining time. Learning to say no and set priorities. And you should look at the Rex management briefing on setting priorities to help your clients do this. There's lots of tools for setting priorities. That's not hard, choosing what's important. What's hard is saying no. Most club owners and GMs tend to do everything. They take huge amount of responsibility, for which I admire them. But then they try to do everything. They try to take care of every problem. And a good manager knows that you should never try to solve every problem, because you will never get out of the trenches then, and you will never be a manager. You'll just be a plumber. So if you want to be a leader, you have to decide which problems to solve, and you can't do all of them. Charles Ivey, the early president of AT&T, one of the biggest companies, most significant companies in the United States, founder of Bell Labs, out of which came almost all of the technological foundation that we live on, things like transistors and so forth. In his 20 years of managing AT&T, the largest, I think, conglomerate business in the U.S. at the time, he said he made 4 decisions. And if you read about him, you'll find out what those decisions are. And they were pretty significant leveraging type decisions that made a huge difference to his business. Anyway, back to where we were. What I'm trying to illustrate is that when someone says I have no time, it means I have a barrier that prevents them from finding time. When they have no money, it may mean that you as a chair have not sat down with them and gone through the 5 or 6 items in the Kickstart How to Save Money materials that Rex gives new members now. If a person is not getting value, my goodness, look at their the performance, because here would be the situation where I would accept I'm not getting any value. My company has 35% EBITDA. I have a fabulous management team that allows me to be away from work several months a year without worrying. Maybe that's a good enough start. Yeah, maybe it is going to be hard for you to get value out of Rex if you're at that point. My business is growing, and of course it's very rare to see businesses growing in the health club world except by acquisition or franchising. Organic growth seems to apparently have disappeared, and more of that in some other videos. The issue here, when someone is leaving, you have to engage them, ideally in a meeting. We ask every single member, if they ever are thinking of leaving, to come to a final meeting and say goodbye, and to honor the community that they are in through that action. I would repeat that once a year at some point in a roundtable, so people don't just slip off, send an email and say, yeah, decided not to come, and then they'll never pick up your phone, you can't engage with them again. Engaging them means that you have to put yourself at risk. Because in most cases, when someone decides to leave for things like no money, no time, no value, you know that's not true. And you have some inkling that other things are going on that are very serious, that are preventing them from moving ahead. And to a large extent, these are third agenda items. Addressing third agenda items requires your courage to begin a conversation. You don't have to know the answer, but you have to step in to this situation. You may feel like you don't want to have the conversation. You may feel like if you start the conversation, it would be scary or damaging or ego-threatening or uncomfortable. This is where Rex chairs can move forward in their own growth by becoming stronger in this ability to address your members' serious third agenda issues. Now, you may not be able to solve them. If someone's having a serious problem with their spouse that prevents them from hiring an executive assistant to delegate to, you may need to use one of Rex's executive coaches to help you work through that, or some other resource. Your job is to get that on the table and identify it as an issue, and ideally to help the whole roundtable see that so they can support this member in addressing it and hold their feet to the fire in addressing it and change their life and their business in addressing this single barrier. The Rex assessment on blind spots is another way of taking a look at those areas that people don't see. The title of the book that comes from is Fearless Leadership. So your job, I believe, my job, is to encourage you to move into this area and to do it with great humility and great compassion, being confrontive about someone who is leaving and getting in their face and stepping into their space is more of a reflection of you putting on armor to protect yourself in that engagement than taking your armor off and letting people see your willingness to be at risk, to be vulnerable. The little book, Click, How to Engage People, has a lot of interesting five skills to help you better engage people. It talks about being a hostage negotiator, tough, dangerous business. And it's not about a matter of being confrontational. The police are confrontational. They want to shoot the hostage taker. The hostage negotiator is the exact opposite. They want to engage, and they will put themselves at risk. Traditionally, in our movies, we see the hostage negotiator put themselves at physical risk. They take off their guns and walk up to the bad guy. In real hostage negotiation, it's much tougher. It's a matter of taking down your armor and letting yourself become psychologically and emotionally vulnerable with someone who is a criminal. That's scary, and it's hard. By moving in this direction, we engage our members more deeply. Every time there's an event where this happens, whether it succeeds or fails, I believe it deepens the roundtable community. And it gives us the power of the Rex communities we've created. There's not too much to read on this, but there is one book that kind of comes close, by Suzanne Gais, G-H-A-I-S. It's called Extreme Facilitation. And what she talks about is not nicey-nicey facilitation, but facilitating in the toughest of circumstances. Now, she's talking about facilitating groups where there's been high conflict, where there's been violence, and things of this sort. So it's not entirely appropriate, although it is very interesting to see the kind of qualities she describes in the facilitator and the kinds of strategies that you can use. It's really helpful to have this in your toolkit when you walk into a meeting and there's a revolt. And maybe it's me and my style of facilitation, but it seems that you can almost invariably expect a revolt. When we ran week-long facilitator training workshops, we could expect on Wednesday or Thursday there would be a revolt against the agenda. And we would kind of silently smile and say, oh, and let's go through an individual and team accumulation and patterning of the issues to figure out what we can do to improve the rest of the week. The same is true in your roundtable. Every couple of years there may be a revolt where people say, we're not happy, we don't like this, and the elephant finally steps out of the fog, and your job is to invite it out of the fog, not to try to draw a curtain around it, like in The Wizard of Oz. Your job is to reveal. And this is the issue when you are losing a member. To reveal your own sorrow and loss at losing them. To talk about the issues as best you know them. To open pathways to begin a conversation. How would it be if you had 30% less to do at work? Are there things you do at work that don't require your highest and best use? Are there things at work that you don't look forward to doing? All of those questions begin to open an arena where your Rex member is identifying things that should be delegated or maybe shouldn't even be done. Only when you push yourself in this direction of really engaging at a raw, open, human, unprotected level with your members can you build those bridges which will build the community and which will grow you into an extraordinarily powerful roundtable chair.